In recent weeks, North Korea's state media released a bold statement claiming that former U.S. President Donald Trump's proposed space and missile defense initiatives could push the world toward what they ominously called a space-based nuclear conflict. They specifically warned against the reactivation of what they referred to as the Golden Dome, a metaphorical term many analysts believe refers to an integrated U.S. space defense shield, possibly a reference to advanced anti-ballistic missile systems like THAAD and the proposed expansion of Space Force under Trump-era initiatives. The term Golden Dome isn't official U.S. military jargon, but let's consider what North Korea might mean. Some believe it symbolizes an impenetrable U.S. missile defense umbrella that extends not just over North America, but potentially allies in Asia like South Korea and Japan. The golden aspect could imply elite, high-tech superiority, and the dome part obviously evokes protection, like a shield in the sky. Under Trump's presidency, the expansion of Space Force and renewed funding into missile defense technologies, including satellites with direct kinetic or laser interception capabilities, gave rise to serious conversations about the future of warfare extending into space. North Korea's response to these developments has been, unsurprisingly, aggressive. In their words, any attempt by the U.S. to monopolize space for military purposes is a declaration of war. They argue that these moves destroy the fragile balance of nuclear deterrence and could provoke a new arms race, one not on land or sea, but in Earth's orbit. They also stated that Trump's return to such defense strategies, if re-elected or if his policies regain favor, would result in uncontrollable disaster for mankind. That's some seriously charged language, and it reflects how deeply unnerving these technologies are to regimes already wary of American power projection. Let's talk about Trump for a moment. During his term, Trump championed the creation of the U.S. Space Force, a move mocked by some but praised by others as forward-thinking. He allocated billions to missile defense, even hinting at space-based interceptors and satellite-mounted laser systems to neutralize threats before they reach U.S. soil. Though Trump is no longer president, his influence lingers. In the 2024 campaign trail, he reignited discussion on reinforcing U.S. space dominance and hinted at expanding the military's reach into low Earth orbit. That rhetoric, unsurprisingly, has sent chills down the spines of adversaries like North Korea. They claim Trump's ideology promotes the weaponization of space and sets a precedent for preemptive nuclear strikes, an accusation not officially backed by U.S. policy. But it shows how interpretations vary wildly depending on who's doing the interpreting. Now, let's inject some reality here. Despite all the sky-fi-sounding rhetoric, an actual space-based nuclear war remains highly improbable for now. There are major treaties in place, like the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, which explicitly bans weapons of mass destruction in orbit. Even China and Russia, while also developing space capabilities, have signed on. But yes, there's a but. That hasn't stopped major powers from testing anti-satellite weapons, deploying spy satellites, or proposing kinetic interceptors. The line between defense and offense is blurry. So while North Korea's rhetoric may be overblown, their underlying fear that the balance of power is shifting into a less predictable, less controlled domain isn't totally unfounded. What's next? That depends on a few things. 1. U.S. policy continuity. Will future administrations continue to fund space-based defense systems? 2. 3. Global treaties. Will new international agreements arise to regulate the militarization of space? 4. 5. North Korea's actions. Will they escalate their own programs as a form of retaliation or deterrence? 6. The international community will need to work overtime to ensure transparency, dialogue, and boundaries before mistrust leads to miscalculation. Whether it's through diplomacy or deterrence, a stable future means cooperation, not escalation. The idea of a golden dome over Earth, shielding us from missile attacks, might sound like a marvel of modern defense. But to some, it's also a symbol of inequality, control, and provocation. North Korea's warnings, while inflammatory, force us to consider the ethical and strategic dilemmas of extending military dominance into orbit. Let's hope leaders everywhere recognize that a war in space wouldn't be fought just among satellites. It would put all of Earth at risk.